welcome back to Rocksfall, your home for the best interviews, reviews, and actual play from the board gaming and role-playing worlds. Today we're going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite RPGs that I actually just found recently. It's called Cosmic Patrol, and it was conceived by Matt Harrett, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that last name, Matt, and published in 2001 by Catalyst Game Labs. Cosmic Patrol is the RPG that fans of pulp sci-fi deserve the chance to play, or at least the chance to read, because for me, this was one heck of a game-inspiring page-turner. This relatively small book, it packs a lot of ideas into its really tiny frame. It's a tome of sci-fi goodness that comes at a whopping 135 pages in a tiny, neatly constructed, and beautifully simplistic hardcover package. Seriously, the artwork is minimalist but beautiful. And check out @RocksfallCast on Instagram for shots of the book. I'll link that in the episode description. I pored over this book and finished it the day I bought it, and as a GM, the possibilities presented here are profound, to say the least. My first thought was, I can literally recreate my own version of Star Trek with this book in a much easier way than even the majority of Star Trek RPG source books allow me to. And that's big, and it's what's keeping me so intrigued by this book. For me, systems rules really help define what it is. That's one reason why I love 5th edition streamlined rules, as well as the Powered by the Apocalypse systems like Dungeon World and Monster of the Week. Vagueness inherent to a system does not suit me well. This is one of the criticisms I have of other systems that I'll review down the road, but getting back to Cosmic Patrol, this book is very vague, but purposely so. Now, that does not mean the book isn't laid out in a thoughtful and concise manner, because it definitely is. I bring this up as a potential con to some players if you're the type of gamer who has to have the rules laid out in a very strict and immovable fashion, akin to AD&D, Dungeon Crawl Classics, or Sword and Sorcery, for example. All of which are lovely games, but are known for being crunchy like gravel. Fair warning, this may not be the system for you if that is the case. The basic flow of gameplay for a 0 session and every other session thereafter, minus character creation obviously, is this. So you're going to create a character, or what the game calls a patrolman, select a mission brief. These are basically intro plot hooks to get the patrolman invested in the campaign or the one-shot. And what's really cool about this is that several are included in the book, but players are encouraged to bring their own to the table for the crew to pick from. Choose a lead narrator. This game does not require a GM. The party can flip a coin or roll a die to see who gets to GM or narrate first. This then switches off at the end of every turn or round of gameplay as the lead narrator role passes to the left. Just after that, you blast off to the stars and try not to get killed by any Venusian robots. And that's it. The book goes more in depth about the flow of play, but this is literally all you need to start the game. I wish I could have found this when it released back in 2011. With only 135 pages, they have opened up a sandbox as limitless as the actual universe, and I am ready to play. Now, I want to walk y'all through some things that most players I know would want discussed in a review. So, the art. It's simplistic and pulpy with enough detail to wow without the need for full-color mural art taking up space in the book. Basically, it gets the point across without having to invest as much as, say, Wizards of the Coast or Paizo does in its artwork. This also lowers the cost of the book considerably, so the buy-in is relatively low compared to other games. The first half of the book is thin on art, but the last half is full of fun pieces. Character creation. This game uses standard D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20 array of dice. Stats are connected to dice that are used in the game. The stats are basic and familiar to anyone who has played a tabletop RPG before. They are brawn, or strength or endurance. Brains, that's your smarts, your science, etc. Charisma, easy enough, it's charisma. Combat, again, that's just your fighting skills. Special, that's a specialization in a chosen field. And luck, which is really interesting in this game because it's a static number that is akin to critical hits in other systems. It ties into that. If the patrolman rolls a number equal to their luck on any other roll, it's counted as an automatic success. So it's an interesting way to determine luck. To start the process, the player must pick a character name, assign stat dice to certain stats, pick your armor, weapons, and starting equipment, create your player cues, then cues are used to move narration along, and then put it all together on a character sheet. It's a fairly simple twist on standard character creation. Now, I mentioned crunchy systems earlier, so I want to talk about the crunchiness of this system. And I mean, this system, these rules are so smooth that any newbies to RPGs can pick up a copy and still have a relatively good time once they read the brief portion of the book that helps set up the game. What I would consider the basics of the game are spread out across about 69 of the 135 pages, and a large portion of that is devoted to monster stats, so the amount of time needed to pick up this game is really minimal. The setting. It's space, it's vague, but the concept laid out in the book is enough to get the mind going to build your own setting. For me, that freedom is part of the charm of this game. And like I said before, it's space. I mean, it's set locally in our galaxy and really lets the players do what they want with it outside of that. Lore. There's a nice timeline to the setting's history on pages 25 through 29 that sets up the starting point nicely. Like I said before, there's a lot of information in the book about the area players start in, and almost none about areas outside the known galaxy, which gives players the freedom to do basically whatever they want, wherever they want, outside of our known galaxy with our 9 planets and our sun. Supplemental material. From what I could find, this game has 3 supplements. They're called The Moon Must Be Ours, Beyond the Gravistar, and Into the Cosmos. There are also several free RPG Day modules that can be found on DriveThruRPG, and I'll link that in the description. I'll update this if I get around to looking at them. Near as I can tell, the publisher does not have any plans for a forthcoming release. So, to wrap up, pros. While the book is small, this game is essentially a huge sandbox that players can dig as deep as they want to. Seriously, this game's scope of play can be almost limitless due to the vagueness of the direction given by the authors. So think No Man's Sky, but with a party of adventurers and more action. It's limitless. The collaborative storytelling with the system is interesting, as it does not have a constant GM. This can help with GM burnout, for anyone who's always just the GM because nobody else wants to do it. And it can add an interesting layer to any session. The art is beautiful, if minimalistic, and the game has a pretty interesting character or patrolman generator. Cons. This system is not going to be for everybody. It's vague and it leaves a lot up to interpretation. At one point in the book, it actually says that fun needs to come before rules, so feel free to break them. As much as I agree with this mindset is not for everyone. The lack of a GM may lead to confusion at first, or possibly a less cohesive story. If you can't play without a GM, or if you just want to be the GM, then this system in its original and unaltered form isn't for you. The thought of switching to a new GM every turn sounds a bit too chaotic for me, but the party can decide how best to go about this in a way that makes everyone comfortable, because the rules also allow for a constant narrator, much like most other RPGs. The art's minimal as well, which can be a bummer for some folks who appreciate that in a core rulebook. Not as bad as Dungeon World. That rulebook has like 4 pieces of art in the entire thing, but it's still pretty minimal. Overall, I'd give this system a solid 4 out of 5, so give it a shot. Free quick start rules and blank forms are available on the publisher's website, and I'll link that in the show description with links to where you can find us on social media as well, so please follow along, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. The game can be purchased as a PDF through DriveThruRPG, and physical copies can be found online in many other places as well. Thank you all so much for listening. Follow along, like, subscribe, share, and review us on your favorite podcatcher. That'll help us stay visible and allow us to keep bringing you content here on Roxfall. I hope to bring a lot more episodes soon. I have a lot of big things in the works, and I really appreciate all the feedback we've been getting and all the follows and the attention on social media. So thank you so much. Talk to you later.